Actually, live streaming in about 5 seconds.
All right, Jen, you want to start us off? And I think if you can just read that middle paragraph on the agenda about the, that'd be great.
Consistent with Executive Order N2920, in-person activity by the public will not be permitted and no physical location from which the public may observe the meeting will be available. Remote public participation is allowed using the Zoom program. All right, we're going to move ahead and we'll do a call to order. Lars is here. Margie?
Here.
Jeff?
I'm here.
And Warren?
Here.
Okay, we've got a full meeting today. We'll call it to order. Sorry, I skipped that. Let's go ahead and approve the minutes. Do we have any talk about the minutes from the last meeting?
I did not get them online. I went and there were no minutes posted. I also was, I was at the meeting last time and it says you can join late and you did not recognize me, so I could not participate.
Okay, I found the minutes on the Sebastopol City website.
I went there yesterday. We're not there.
I actually read through them yesterday. Maybe we were looking at something different. I must have found them somewhere else.
Well,
it did
anyway,
not come though in the email, so that might be something that in the future would be easier to put the link in the email. Would that be possible?
it would
From
be
Rebecca?
better. It would be better.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we can have, and Alan, can you take notes on this? We can have Rebecca send out the link to where they are. They are on the meeting page for this meeting. So if you're looking for the past meetings for those minutes, we only post the approved meetings to the past, but whatever is on your packet will be on that. And if anyone does need, you can also request that Rebecca send you the PDFs directly instead of a link as well for the items, just to make sure everyone has any all the various items.
Okay. So can we go ahead and see if we have a motion to approve the minutes, or should we wait since Warren hasn't seen them yet?
I can just abstain.
Okay.
I have a question about the minutes. The packet includes minutes for July 1st and July 6th special meeting. Are we approving the last meeting, the special meeting minutes?
We should do them both, but one at a time. So I would start with the July 1st minutes.
Okay. Any discussion on July 1st minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, motion approved. And for the July 6th,
So actually, Jen, sorry, we need to do a vote. So it's been motioned
Sorry.
and second, but
all
we do
in
need to do a
favor.
vote.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
All in favor.
And we should go through in order. I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Chair Verts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mills Dyson,
Aye.
Member Strucker,
Aye.
Member Arnold,
Abstain.
and Member Langberg.
Aye.
So the motion carries at a four ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstention.
Okay, discussion on the minutes from July 6th.
No discussion, and I make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 6th special meeting.
I'll
Okay,
second
great.
that.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Carrie, would you like to do the vote?
Yes, Chair Verts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mills Dyson,
Aye.
Member Arnold,
Abstain.
Member Langberg,
Aye.
and Member Strucker.
Aye.
Okay, and that also passes 4-0 and 1 abstention. Thank you.
Okay, great. I don't believe we have anybody here from the public, but I could be wrong on that. Is there anybody here, or did you get any public comments that you'd like to let us know about via email?
So there are no members of the public in attendance at this meeting. And the city council has received some comments regarding the Black Lives Matter mural, feeling that, and I would be happy to forward those to the PAC if those are items of interest to the PAC. And I do know that there were a number of, but nothing specific to any other than that. There were a potential for a couple of people who have additional art ideas that they may want to bring before the body. And so similar to the Black Lives Matter mural, which first went to council and council authorized and asked them to come to this committee. Members of the public can also start with this committee with suggestions, and that would need to be authorized and approved by both the Public Art Committee as well as City Council. So I've had a couple of folks think that they might have alternative ideas, but none have come forth in particular yet. So any of those would come to you. So there have been a couple of emails regarding that. And then we can also forward the Black Lives Matter emails to you. Those were mainly addressed to council, but I'm happy to provide those to the committee as well.
Thank you. Okay, moving on from public comments. Is there any statements of conflict of interest? Okay, let's move on to the regular agenda and the possible expansion of the Public Arts Committee.
Yeah, so
I got a comment.
I can give a brief presentation, or we can go directly into discussion, I guess, if there's a preference. I think it's pretty straightforward though.
Well, you should, I have no idea what this is about, so.
I would love the presentation first. I also I don't know what this is, so.
Also, I just want to say, it was during my interview that this seems to have come up, so I have some information on it too.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would suggest we start with the staff report as our normal course of procedures.
May I comment?
No,
Do you mind holding your comment for after the staff report, Warren?
It's about this thing, the expansion. We tried that before.
Can we hear the report first and then we can make those? Member Arnold, you okay with that?
I want to say that we tried and did expand the committee before, and it was harder to get a quorum, believe it or not. And the ideas were so many, we couldn't really focus on our work. And it went back to 5 after that experiment.
Okay, thank you for that. And you're more than welcome to comment again afterwards, but can we hear Ellen's just general presentation on this, since some of us don't know anything about it? Ellen?
Yeah. So at the July 24th City Council meeting, the City Council did reappointed Margaret Mills Tyson as to the Public Arts Committee. However, during the discussion, they noted that there were several very qualified applicants, and the idea of possibly expanding the Public Arts Committee was discussed, simply due to the number of strong candidates. The City Council, in their discussion, requested that this item go before the, requested this item be discussed with the Public Arts Committee about the possible expansion of the number of members. And they would like the Public Arts Committee feedback and input on whether this is an idea that the PAC wants to discuss or is open to that idea. In general, that really summarizes it. So what we're really looking for is for the Public Arts Committee to discuss this, have a conversation. If there is a desire to expand the number of seats, if there is a desire, how many new seats are there desired to be? And generally, if so, which categories would the PAC like to expand? And for example, the existing categories are active members of a city-based art-focused registered nonprofit organization or facility, persons with experience in public art as a field as either an artist, installer, or designer, member of the general public, a member of the design review board. In short, that's really what we're here, just to discuss the possibility of expanding the PAC and what the PAC's input is on that.
Oh, I'd like to comment.
Yeah.
I was there actually before that meeting. It was brought up during my interview as a question as to what I thought about that expansion. And my comment was that I did not think it was a good idea to expand, especially at this time, because I felt and I feel that the current committee is one of the most effective and helpful grouping of people that in my experience that we have had on this committee, that we are a working group and that we support each other in ideas and in very positive projects. So that was my comment. I did have the idea that was later mentioned. I had an idea afterwards, and that was mentioned about possibly having people who were interested, rather than as members of the committee, as possible members of a subcommittee that were non-voting members. And I think this might be possibly helpful to increase our ability to get things done, like publicize things or make contacts and so on. So I think that's possibly a good idea. Otherwise, I would agree with Warren that it would not be helpful to the functioning of the committee to make it larger.
Jeff, do you have any comments?
Yes, thanks for asking. I do. And by the way, I just want to say I appreciate city staff's patience. You guys are incredibly patient people. And I just want to make sure that doesn't go unnoticed. So as far as the expansion, if, and it sounds like one of the primary reasons behind the city council's proposal to potentially expand the PAC is to allow highly qualified candidates, I think that in itself is not enough of a reason to expand it. I agree with what both Margie and Warren said about numbers. However, what Margie suggested, I think, is a great idea, to allow other community members to potentially serve on subcommittees, depending on what the topics of those subcommittees are. It would probably be helpful for us to know or have some idea of what those community members' skill sets or experiences are related to public art. If we had a pool of people that we were drawing from for a subcommittee. And obviously, if we were going to expand it, I think it would need to stay an odd number for potential tiebreakers. Thank you. I'm done.
Thanks, Jeff. Lars, do you have any comment?
Can staff remind me, or somebody remind me of the length of term of a member? I don't remember that.
4 years.
4 years. Okay, so I agree. I don't think we need more people. I think that just kind of muddies the water and makes everything take longer, and it doesn't necessarily add to the discussion. I wouldn't say though that if there are a lot of people interested, then people who've been on the committee a long time, even if they're very effective committee members, should consider not running again. And that's just my general feeling about these kind of things. Like, it's great to have, the more people you get involved in the process, in a city process of any sort, the better the community generally is. So that's, no disrespect or, nothing personal to anybody who's on the committee. That's just my general feeling about that kind of think people stay on a board for a long time, get entrenched in a certain way, and keep a seat from opening for someone else. And the city council loves to just reappoint members who they know are effective. So I would just make that comment.
Thanks, Lars. Warren, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Well, if you had volunteers, I just wondered if that would affect the Brown Act at all about the numbers of people that can meet together, if they would be in effect members of the committee. For Lars, I think the city website has the length of service of all the members, and I think they are different for different roles. So just those things, and I already said my piece on, I think we should stay at 5 members. Thank you.
Warren, can I ask you how many members you tried expanding it with in the past?
To 7.
Okay,
And as I said, it really became unwieldy. And like Lars said, we got a lot less accomplished. So,
I
this
can
is,
imagine the length of the meeting would go on quite a bit longer too, right?
yes, well, because people have divergent ideas. We are 5 people with divergent ideas, and 7 are really become difficult. If we want to put all our money into street painting, for example, then that becomes a difficult thing to deal with as a committee. So anyway, I've said it.
And there was
So
more turnover as well when there were 7.
7, yeah, they're all members.
There was more turnover, I said.
More turnover? No, I think, yeah, some people quit. Some
Yes.
of the members just quit.
Less stable.
Yes. Definitely.
Okay,
less
thank
stable.
you. Thank you. I kind of agree with the rest of the board on a lot of that. I think that I could see it becoming a bit more convoluted with more people. However, I really do appreciate Lars's comment on, maybe after this term, I should step down. I've been here for a long time, and fresh blood is always a really great thing. So it's something that I would consider. I know that there are a lot of other qualified people out there that could do some great work. We're not the only ones. So I really do. I like that as an idea too. I personally, I think we are becoming more and more functional as a 5-person group. And I think this is really starting to work. I would hate to see us start all over with 7 myself. But is there anything else you guys want to add to that? Is there anything we need to do? Bring this to city council, tell them what we think?
I would suggest that we find out, as Warren suggested, what the parameters would be to having non-voting members on subcommittees.
And I can address that right now.
As assistants.
Right. So in terms of having subcommittees, and I know we have a couple of working subcommittees right now working on various projects, there's no Brown Act issue if they aren't appointed and decision-making, as you all are decision-making appointed members. For example, there's actually quite a few, like the Zero Waste Subcommittee the city has. It's a council subcommittee that has 1 or 2 members of council, so there's no quorum issues there. And then the rest of the members are general public, and that's actually a really good way, I feel, to harness some of the excitement and energy in the art community potentially, to help leverage your time and resources working on the various projects. And so that's not a Brown Act issue. And since the council, I was at that meeting and listened to the discussions sort of directly, they were a bit torn because of the quality of the candidates and wanting a way for those folks to engage. And we can send the Public Art Committee the application forms which are public for those folks. But what I would suggest is, since this was sort of a council direction of, hey, we really want to investigate this, I certainly appreciate the sentiments of the PAC and your recommendation on the actual committee size. But if there is a further recommendation of, if there's a way to involve them involve folks who are interested in being involved with arts in Sebastopol. I think that would be very simpatico with the volunteerism and the grassroots that Sebastopol is kind of known for. So with that said, I would request that you perhaps spend a little time discussing that as an option.
I'd also like to say that I think it's a reflection on the quality of the venue of the committee and on the current committee, that there has been more generated interest. For a while, there were no other people or very few people coming up. So I think that's a very positive comment.
Right, and one of the things inviting others into the subcommittees would help do is, that means that the PAC subcommittee members would really be the leaders of that subcommittee and providing direction to that, and instead of sort of maybe more the larger expanded, where I'm hearing that that's a little bit more difficult to be a good working machine.
Does anybody else have comments on that angle of this with the subcommittee? Jeff?
I would support that. I think that could potentially be very constructive for the PAC as a whole, particularly if we start to have quite a few projects on tap that haven't been brought to closure yet. I was also curious for staff, how many candidates was the city council referring to? How many potential candidates were they talking about? Do we know?
I think there were 4 total, so there would have been 3 other people.
Correct. There were 4 total candidates, and yeah.
All right.
Warren, do you have any comments on the subcommittee?
No, I'm through. Thank you.
Lars?
I think that's a fine idea. We could, I think I echoed what Jeff said. We have, there's lots on the plate and there may be more. So it's a great way to get help and get people involved.
I'll second that. And I think that if maybe we could understand more about some of these folks and what they were interested in working on, then we would know where to put them in a subcommittee. Obviously, if somebody was not interested at all in a certain particular project, it would be kind of silly to have them in the subcommittee. Although one of the members that did apply, or one of the people that applied, I have been looking to work with for years as an artist in any way. So I would love the opportunity to work with some of these folks. So I mean, it would just be great, I think, to have some of these people in our arsenal of folks that can help us get stuff done.
Do we need to make a proposal, a movement rather, to ask the city council for more information, or what's the next step?
Yeah, so I think council was looking for this body's recommendation, and it sounds like the consensus is maybe not expanding the PAC, but having a way to invite people into subcommittees and members of the public. And I don't know if you'd want that to be a formal application process or sort of an open invite. For the other council subcommittees, usually there is, and realizing these are ad hoc committees, meaning that they're sort of there for a certain amount of time while the project's going on, and then once that project is complete, those subcommittees would go away. We can certainly do a application kind of a process, because there may be others out there who aren't available, and didn't want to commit to a 4-year term, once a month, who might also be interested in helping leverage and volunteer in this way. So that's generally how the council subcommittees have gone, is there has been some sort of application process, and I would suggest that it be far simpler than well, there's 2 ways you could handle it. One is you could have the existing applicant pool, who they certainly felt were well qualified, and it was a difficult decision for them in terms of who to appoint, but then also invite others who may be interested, and that could be something that's the application process is out there for a certain amount of time. And typically, I think it's 4 weeks or so to see, and we can put that in the city newsletter to see if there's anyone else who's interested in it coming and doing that. Or the subcommittee meetings could be a little bit more structured, where they're open meetings that are posted to the website and anyone can come and join, which would maybe be a little bit more unruly in terms of being really focused on and being able to assign tasks to folks.
So could subcommittees be informal as they are now, if they had more members, more workers?
I think they could be, and if you're looking at, hey, it's really a volunteer, if you're interested in volunteering, if you think of them as volunteer members of the subcommittee who are assisting, with the coordination efforts of the, it may be like for the mobile art app, someone's assigned to a different neighborhoods, or if you're taking pictures and doing the inventory or uploading and those types of things.
And also, I just want to say, I could be wrong, but my impression is that all members of the committee did not want to expand the number, and not expand, but that was the full. So if anybody disagrees with that, please speak up. So it was full.
Right, and so I think what staff can do, and we can bring this back at the next meeting, is just summarize the PAC's recommendation in terms of the official PAC membership, but then also if you're able to, in terms of inviting folks in for subcommittees, if you're able to either discuss now, or if you want to think about it and discuss at the next meeting, but if you're able to discuss now and kind of provide some direction to staff, we can write that up as a recommendation to council that would come back to this committee at the next meeting and to be sort of formally signed off by the PAC, and then we would bring that to city council. And I'd probably request a PAC liaison at that meeting as well to be able to answer any questions from council.
Is there any way we could get some of the information about the people who applied, maybe before, or even talk about some sort of, like you were saying, an application for people that wanted to do it before we made any decisions? I guess I can't wrap my head around this because it's brand new also, but I don't understand, I don't know. I only knew one of the applicants, and I don't know him extremely well, no matter how much I've wanted to work with him in the past, but I just don't know anything about the others.
Sure, and what we do have, so I can tell you the names of them. It was the interviews are available, and you can either watch watch it on the city archive of
What was the date on that?
But the date, and I just posted it in the chat window, the link, if that helps people. But it was July 8th was the day of the interviews. And all 4 of the applications are on the city's website at the link I posted. The names of the folks were Robert Brent, Margie, of course, Deborah Kirkland, and Barbara Harris.
Great, thank you. Okay, so
yeah,
you're asking if, go ahead.
No, I just would concur with just what Jen said, please. We'd like more information.
More
Is that
information
okay?
on the applicants, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And then once we open it up, there may be others too, other people as well.
I don't understand why that's important. To me, there's people out there we know are interested. There may be more. Let's just come up with a process to invite them in. I think it's pretty straightforward, and we're going to have a project to work on at some point. We might want some help. We might want to involve people. When that comes up, we do what?
Yeah, I agree with you, Lars, and I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that the PAC inform the city council that we would be willing to start a pool of volunteers from the city of Sebastopol, which would include recent applicants for potential committee positions. I know I kind of sounded like I didn't really end that, but I did.
I thought you froze there for a second.
Yeah, I think I did.
So as you said city positions, but do you mean in
I think you said subcommittee
subcommittees?
position.
Okay, subcommittees. Okay, I misheard. Okay, perfect. Would anybody like to second that, or would you like to discuss the
I
motion?
would like to discuss,
Yeah,
I think
ahead,
that
Warren.
I think we should have what the staff can summarize written down and sent to us prior to any motion to approve anything. And I think there's some reason that some of the possible names have been turned down by the council on when they've applied on multiple times. So we should be more careful about the collegiality of the committee.
I wanted to mention a point of order. I believe from my experience with Robert's Rule of Orders, et cetera, you go ahead and approve the motion, then you have discussion, and then you can defeat it.
So I think actually first we need, yeah, so Joe, in terms of point of order, Member Strucker has made a motion. I don't know if the chair can call to see if there's a second, and then we can have discussion prior to any vote.
Discussion after second.
Is
Okay,
But
there-
it
I
needs a
got it.
second first, otherwise it just dies.
So would somebody like to second that so we can continue discussing?
Okay.
Okay, so
Motion doesn't
then
carry.
let's move on to, do we want to go with what Warren's saying and take a little bit more info and then bring this up at the next meeting?
I would agree with that also in terms of time, because we have several other things on the agenda today.
I will agree with that.
So in that case, Jen, you can request a motion and a second with some direction to, and the motion should hopefully include some direction to staff. But a motion to continue the item.
I can vote, I so move.
A second.
All in favor? Do you want to do a vote, Carrie?
Can I just, to point of discussion, can we
Yes.
include in this motion, we recommend to council that we're not expanding the committee, but we're going to discuss the other part, or do you want to just do it all together?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think as your staff liaison, I would recommend that you include that. Ultimately, obviously, whether to expand a committee or not is the council's right. So they're asking for a recommendation from this board. I think if you're recommending not to expand it, to have that be part of the, but to instead do this, then I think that would
Okay.
make sense as a motion. But
Okay.
so that would require a the Warren, if you're willing to amend the motion to,
Well, I think
and I
it's
can,
fine.
it can help state that if you need.
I think it's fine. We're just continuing the whole item. That makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I think staff will return, we're continuing the item with staff to return with the information that's been discussed for further discussion at the next meeting. Warren,
Yeah.
is that accurate to your motion?
Yes, but please have a written summary so that we can have something to read and plan on beforehand.
Okay.
So you are including what Lars suggested, the additional statement in that motion?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll write up a draft recommendation for the PAC to, based on your discussions today. to review and vote on, and then we'll bring by vote, and then we'll bring that to city council once it's been finalized by the PAC.
So is there like a communication now to the city council? One, that the PAC does not agree with expansion. Two, that we are interested in further exploring the subcommittee option. Can that
That's
be,
correct.
is that communicated, not waiting,
Yes.
communicating now, Carrie? Yes.
That's correct.
Well, you can either do that now, or you can wait until you have further ideas about how the subcommittee would work.
I would move that we communicate that now and then move forward. Once we get more information, just say we're interested in more information and that we do not want to expand. I think that's important to communicate now.
Why do you say that, Margie? Well, there's not really an urgency, is there? Like, if next meeting we can come up with the part B, why don't we just present it all at one time?
Because they asked us to question, and why make things move more slowly and just reply to that, which puts us in the same position, but it makes our communication more current
Mhm.
and clearer.
Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you. So Warren, you can move on that, or I will.
Well, I already made a motion for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Somebody needs to second it.
Well, the discussion was to add the statement about our agreement on not to expand.
And that's what I've asked the staff to write up and have available for us to read before we go and put it back on the agenda next month.
Okay, well, if that's what you think, I just would say we've already, there's 2 points and we've
So
already.
yeah, I think maybe if we can clarify, Warren, if you can clarify your motion, it sounds like there are two different
The motion is
items.
that we would like to keep the committee at 5, open it up to volunteers, but ask the staff to write up any other thoughts relevant to that so we can talk about it, think about it for a month, have it on the agenda next month to send that as a motion to the council.
Okay, so your motion
It's just
would put it all together and then send it to council, not send it to council right now, or in two parts. which
put
is
it all
what-
together and bring it back to us for next month.
So your motion is not to communicate, not to send that statement that you just made.
It's for us to have one more month to look at it and think about it and then vote on it next month.
Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Do you want to do any more discussion on that? Or should we take a vote?
I just would say I would like to communicate currently, and then saying that we want more information on point 2.
So you're saying that you'd like to tell them like in person, or because this is all public, so they could always look at our meeting and see the motion that we passed and that we are currently looking at this. If they were, if they're so concerned about it, they can see that we've done this and we are open to the subcommittee idea.
Right, and so a couple, thank you, Chair Bruce, that is a good point. And just so you know, planning staff generally sends city council a summary email after each public meeting to let them know of anything that was discussed. And we can, we'll certainly let them know, they're in the midst of discussions. They are looking at subcommittees as opposed inviting people into subcommittees as opposed to expansion. They're still working on it, and we'll have a recommendation after next month's meeting. That way council has a heads up, but it's not a formal recommendation until this subcommittee has had until this committee has had time to vet how the subcommittee process and recommendation would look.
You're saying the heads up would be if we sent that.
So I'm saying that we planning staff after each
Yes.
Design Review Board, Public Art Committee, Planning Commission meeting, we send a email to City Council letting them know of anything significant that happened. So we can let them know in that informal way through an email update of, hey, in case you are interested in looking at the meeting or whatnot, that the direction of the PAC, but that you'll be returning, that it'll come to them more formally once the PAC has discussed and made a formal recommendation.
Okay. To me, I get confused about why make proposal, move things and then vote on them if it's all being done anyway by email, but whatever. It's just, to me, now that's.
Vice Chair, we like to keep council informed, but if you don't have a formal recommendation of how you want to go about integrating additional people into the public art world and the way you're operating, it wouldn't be on their formal agenda to discuss that until this body has had time to flesh that out. So it wouldn't be on the difference is once you guys make your formal recommendation of, we don't want to expand the committee, but we do want to integrate volunteers and people who are interested in the subcommittees via this, that, and the other, whatever that process that is approved by this body, that will go back to City Council for their discussion and approval.
Is it okay if we go ahead and vote since we do have a lot of other things?
Thank you.
on the-
Sorry.
Carrie, can you just call the vote?
Sure. Chair Verts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Mills Tyson,
Nay.
Member Arnold,
Aye.
Member Langberg,
Aye.
and Member Strucker.
Nay.
Okay, that is 3-2, so the motion carries to continue the item to the next meeting for further discussion about and with the draft recommendation for council.
Thank you. Let's move on to the support for artists during COVID-19. Margie, do you want to start?
Okay. So I sent the proposal draft. Did everyone get a copy?
No.
Yes.
Lars?
Yes.
Okay. So Warren says he doesn't have a copy.
No, I did not.
I don't know how to.
So Margaret, can you perhaps give a staff report or an overview of?
Okay, so we have a proposal, and there were a couple questions on some of the items, and also just at press time, Jen was able to get in touch with the Art Center, and if I understand correctly what you said, Jen, that we would be able to use their mailing to get this information out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that's great. The question was, how would we, so these are things people might have ideas about, please. How would artists demonstrate that they depend upon the income from their artwork for a minimum of 60%, let's say, of their livelihood support? So how would they demonstrate that? So that would be a question to consider. And so artists would be notified through the SCA mailing, announcements in city website and other announcements, local newspapers, radio. Other artists would be eligible if they apply by the deadline and fulfill all the items listed in eligibility. The proposed amount for the lottery is $1,000, a minimum of $1,000. which if it was 1,000, for example, would be divided into 2 or 4 gifts, and that's again for discussion. And then the question, is the gift taxable? Will recipients need to pay the tax on the amount gifted, or if not, how would that be handled? And then public participation. There's one is that we would require recipients to do something, and 2, that we would ask them if they would be willing to do something. And so the current idea is they would be required to allow the PAC to list their names as recipients of the Artist Support Lottery and have a photograph taken of them with at least one piece of their artwork. And we haven't gotten to what that photograph would be used in. Asking them if they'd be willing to consider being interviewed for local newspapers, radio, city newsletter, and if they'd be willing to consider having the library display one piece of their artwork for 3 weeks. And then we need to work on dates to announce the lottery and send out the call through the Art Center mailing, and also city announcements, newspapers, etc. Deadline to receive the entries, and when the lottery would occur, or when the entries, when we would go over the entries, I guess, to make sure that they all qualify. Then when the lottery would occur, and when the winners would receive, the winners would be announced, and when they would receive the funds. And I had yeah. So that was the proposal. So
May I ask how you sent out the letter, or did you send it to Carrie to send to the PAC?
I sent it to.
Because I got it. Okay, Carrie, can you see when and how, if Warren has gotten the letter, first of all, so we can catch him up?
Sure, so I'm gonna ask Alan, since Ellen and Rebecca took care of the packet for this meeting.
Yeah, so it should have been sent out in the packet in the email.
It's not in the package.
Okay, let me take a look and see if I can pull up that email and just see how it was sent.
It's a link. There's a link to the city, the website, that has all the stuff.
But beyond just going on the website, it could be sent to all members as things
Yeah.
are.
Right, there's an attachment for an agenda, an attachment for the virtual meeting
Yeah, so the
protocol, but that's it.
sent then that way. Because I sent
But
2.
other members of the board have seen this letter. Am I understanding that correctly? But Warren hasn't? How did the other members receive it?
Link to the website.
Okay, okay.
I got it through the City of Sebastopol bannered email attachment.
Okay, great.
And I think, there are, for most meetings, we send out, because they often involve large attachments, like for design review board, if there are plans. But I think for this group, our attachments are usually small enough that, Alan, can you just have Rebecca send out the,
Yeah.
the attachments? And certainly if committee members, if you see things in the packet that appear to be missing, please contact Rebecca and she will be able to coordinate that with you. But we'll request that you send both the link to the website where you can download them, but also the actual attachments
Is there any
for
at all
future.
possibility of right now sending to Warren? And also, I don't know whether the other thing on the agenda for the sculpture garden got received.
So,
I got the agenda and all the Zoom information, and that's all I got from Rebecca. And
Okay.
In the past, we've always had a package, and I can download it, but if I don't get it to download, I can't do anything.
okay, I will download them right now and send them over to you, Warren, via email, if that's all right.
Your sound is all very hard to hear.
I can download it right now and send it to you via email, if
You
that
can
works for
send
you.
it to my email, but I can't look at the email while I'm on this. It's a different, I have a different screen for my email.
Okay,
Okay. It's conceivable I could look on my phone if you send it now.
okay. I'll send it over to you right now.
And the other attachment that I sent on the sculpture garden, I know we're discussing one thing, but just, can you send that to everyone to make sure?
I'll do that as well.
Thank you.
And what I'm gonna do in the meantime, Margie, is go ahead and do a screen share and put up the actual letter so that it's visible for folks, okay?
Okay. So can we then, as she's doing that, move on to discussion from what I just read? Any ideas? Should we go through them one at a time, or how would you want to do it?
Okay,
For the
now it's
sake
on.
of-
Oh my gosh. You see, now this takes time to look at, to study, to think about. And I can't give you a reaction today on this. Where does the $1,000 come from? From PAC account?
Yes.
And it's it's 1,000 total to then be considered as one or two or four gifts, you're saying?
That was the suggestion. I know for the painting, the BLM painting, there was a small amount of money put out and more offered for the mural. So this is, I think, a very moderate amount, 1,000.
Yeah.
So I have some comments. Margie, first of all, thank you for composing this. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of this. And I'm not sure if Alan also assisted or somebody else. It makes a lot of sense to me. I understand the part about the $1,000 and that it could potentially be divided into 2 or 4 gifts, depending on the number of applicants that qualify. I think my primary question would be about how they qualify. And then if they do qualify for the lottery and there is one of the artists who qualified who demonstrated a greater financial need, would they then have a higher weight in the lottery? If that makes sense.
Yes, it's a good question. Do you want to reply? Or is that just you bringing it up?
No need to reply. Maybe your silence is
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I have a couple. So you're asking, so where would they be willing for the PAC to list their names and have a photograph? That would just be on the city's website?
Could be. That's what we would determine. That,
If they want it, they don't have to do that if they,
Right.
it was like to
No,
help
if-
them promote themselves.
Right, if they want, where is it seen is what I'm asking.
right.
I mean, there's local newspapers, interviews, that kind of thing, great, but if the first 2 points say, can we list your name and take a photograph, and what do we do with those things?
Right. Right. And then the other question would be, is there anything we would require, or is it all at their option?
Right.
So, that's kind of, rather than make those decisions, I am bringing it to the group.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One other question I had was, if they're displayed at the library, was that inside the library, outside the library? I guess it depends on the piece of artwork.
Yeah.
The library is open. I don't even know that actually.
It's not, I don't think it's open for people coming in. So if this was current and it wasn't open, then it would have to be outside.
Right. Okay.
I would also like to say thanks to Margie for all of the hard work on this. My number one thing I would say is I would love to see this happen sooner rather than later. We've been talking about trying to help local artists since March or since April, since the beginning of COVID. I think it was probably April the first time we did discuss at least, what could we do regarding at least giving out information for grants, or now that we're coming up with our own, to keep pushing this back. People need help now. So if there's anything that we could do, I would love to just see us be able to do it, even if it is, a smaller idea. I would say probably two $500 gifts would be what I would prefer, just because it's a little bit more that'll really, help pay a couple of bills, or at least one or something. Things are expensive here. So if that's just my comment. I just love what Margie did here. I love the fact that we could help. Catherine, when I spoke to her, was very excited. She thought it was a great idea. So I'll right off the bat, I could say I have a really good feeling about this, and I think people would be really happy to help us get the word out, including local newspapers and people that would love to help promote the artists. The question that Jeff brought up, however, if we get like 100 applicants, how do we pick? So I think we do need to be really careful, like what is it? Are they more stressed out financially? Are they are we going to go within the city of Sebastopol only? I think we should prepare for that just in case. Like, how do we vote? Or is it just a lottery? We take every single resident of Sebastopol that can show that they're an artist, and we just pick from a hat, which could be easier. This is not something that we're good at. We're just going to drag it on forever if we have to pick like we do with the grant process. So it might just be better for us to pull it out of a hat and then just say, hey, that's just what we decided. So that was just my thoughts on Jeff's comment, which I thought was very relevant. And I'm good. So I don't know if Warren, you've had enough time to read this, but if
I've
you
been
would like
reading
to-
it. So
Okay, go
where it
ahead. Do you have
says-
anything?
Yes, where it says eligible artists, somebody keeps jumping this thing around on me. How do you demonstrate? How do you ask someone to demonstrate they need?
That was something that we discussed, that they would need to possibly show. That was one of my first questions when Margie and I were going through this in the subcommittee. It'd be hard to
And-
say, but
So
with-
I just want to say, I think it's an important question, and I think that there needs to be some way we could do that. Otherwise, just someone
So
could
what,
not even be an artist, or
what,
be,
what
have done
if-
2 drawings in their life.
what if in your announcement you start off by saying, we understand that the COVID has caused you to lose opportunities to market your work. And we understand you might be in need. And therefore, this is open to you. And just do all the artists that are on Art Trails and Art at the Source would be just enough to send this to.
And we already have a letter that we considered once, which has.
I think this is too much information, too difficult to follow. Just open it up and let's say, we know you're in need. And then apply for the lottery.
Okay, Warren, what would there be any, in your view, opportunity for someone who's not on the SCA list to apply?
Well, yeah, probably there's students that go to the JC and the college, remotely now. That might be hurting too, but at
Okay.
one point you have to limit it, and you've limited it to Sebastopol, which is okay because this money is coming from projects in Sebastopol.
Okay,
So
good.
that's a okay limitation, but I would say that most people who rely on income, even if it's supportive income, are hurting now. There's no opportunity to sell right now. So I would just say, we understand this is a difficult time for you. And we would like to help. And this is what we're going to have an artist supplemental gift to you of 500 or whatever, just whatever small amount you feel we can give.
I think that's a lovely statement, and I hope someone's written it down, Warren. And I thank you for those points, and I strongly agree with what Jen said, is let's move forward. And that does mean making it simpler. I would say just an open lottery. I think Jeff's point about waiting isn't wait, W-E-I-G-H-T, but it would make us W-A-I-T, wait. So I would just make it open. In terms of, so maybe we could limit it to the list we've gotten. And if, I don't know if we heard from someone else, I don't know what to say about the students. I think, you know, can you prove that's your major or something like that? So that's good. I think, you know, two at 500 from the 1,000, let's go ahead with that. Let's see. So we would need a time. Jen, you were talking about moving forward. Can you suggest a time frame and how to realize that? Or anyone else? But Jen,
If we could move forward on just saying, yes, put together the final version, you know, it would be really nice to be able to give this to Catherine soon. So we had a month to actually receive some lottery entries and then give the money away by next meeting. But I don't know if that's possible.
And so I'm going to chime in here because this is
I would have to go to council first.
yeah, exactly. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair Burns.
Okay, got it.
I
So
think that
council's not for another 2 weeks. So
so
could we put together,
there is urgency, but the COVID's not going away. So to me,
True.
if we do it next week or we do it in 3 months, that money is going to be happily received.
could we put together something to send to city council in 2 weeks?
okay. Can you suggest some tentative dates then for the timeline?
So I think for the next council meeting that would be available would be September 1st. So I would, if you do it before, obviously that would be before your next PAC meeting, which is the next day on the 2nd. That would be sort of the authorization date in terms of knowing whether or not it's authorized.
Okay, so we finalize a simplified version of this letter by the next meeting. And then if we could put it on the agenda briefly for the September, you said September 1st?
So September
next-
1st, there is their meeting and it's before we meet again. So it either we need to have a final version that we put together in some way, not waiting till next meeting. Or then we have to wait another month because we meet after them. And I hear what you're saying, Lars, but I actually disagree about the time frame. I just have different view of that. I just think the sooner the better. And, you know, you just think about someone who's having trouble paying their rent or getting food. And yes, they can wait 2 months, but it's not so good as if they don't have to wait 2 months or 3.
So we have to hammer it out right here then, which I'm fine. I'm fine with that. We can figure this out right now.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, and I'm
No,
willing
I just,
to put it
sorry, go
together
ahead.
after that.
I don't think it was as much as like we're trying to hammer it out as much as, you know, with the evictions coming up right now, with the stimulus being gone, I see more of an issue for people and it is kind of dire, right? So I don't think it's about that as much as, is there a motion that we could put through that we could send to city council just saying, hey, we would like to give out 2 $500 gifts as grants to artists struggling. Something as simple as that. And then if they say yes on September 1st, then we can finalize the letter. Margie and I as the subcommittee can work on simplifying this letter. If it works for everybody on the following Wednesday, we could actually move forward with it. However, you know, we don't have to, but at least we've done that step. I don't know if that's the appropriate step to move, but Carrie, do you think that's even a possibility?
I think if you can hash out the main details to council, And then if someone, what you can do is do a authorize, whether it's the chair and vice chair, or to finalize that and present to council.
I think
That's
that's
So
great.
simplifying it to the terms of just saying we would like to have the approval to go with 2 $500 grants. Is that too simple for city council? Is that?
I think that's too simple. I think they'll want to
Okay.
know how, you're limiting it to city of Sebastopol residents. How are you gonna, and I think the demonstration of that their artist is their main profession and the eligibility. I think, I think it can be as simple as the sheet that you have that Margie had put together, but it should include the revisions so they have an understanding of how the program works.
Okay, so Carrie, given the input that we've had so far and any additional input that there is right now, would it be feasible for me to take that information, simplify the statement, and make a letter, and, as going as close to what Jen said in terms of simplicity, but with a bit more, and then have that go to the city council. I'm not sure how to get everyone's okay or input, but that would be the way to do it, I would think.
I'm not hearing that there's an option right now for us to even have something to give to city council. So if I'm understanding that right, I would like to suggest that we take this, Margie and I will simplify the letter, get a basic idea for a motion to put together for the following city council meeting. And in the essence of time, we probably should just make that decision if we're going to move on. This sounds to me like it needs to get pushed to the next meeting. Now that we know what we need to bring to the next meeting as well, this will be a lot easier. So now I'm clear on what we need to do. Does that work for you, Margie?
So what you're suggesting is that at our next meeting, we finalize the letter and our plan, and then send that to the next city council meeting in October. If they-
Actually, their next meeting would be September 15th, I believe.
Yeah.
So it'd still be in September.
Perfect.
And our next meeting would be before that. Okay, so it would be for their September 15th meeting. Okay, that's a little better. And perhaps we could work it out so that at next meeting, there would be a whole timeline and plan. And so that when if the city council approved it on the 15th, we could immediately send out the call.
Can we just move this to I think at this point we have already agreed we're just going to move this discussion. We can decide that if we're going to move it after they decide on the 15th to the next meeting. Is that okay with you?
So could I interject something, please?
Of course, yes.
Would you ask him to get rid of the statement off my screen because it's taking up my whole screen? Alan,
Can
remove
you-
it. So instead of doing, thank you, instead of doing this letter, which I don't know how that's going to get paid for, why don't we think about talking to Catherine at the Arts Center, asking her to select 3 or 4 people from Art Trails and from Art at the Source, or 2 people, and just who are in need the most, that let her help us make that decision, and then just give those people the money if the city council approves this idea. I think the letter is going to be costly and cause more slowdown, and I think Catherine probably has a finger on who is in need from those different programs, and she can include the board if she needs to make that decision.
I have a twofold comment to that right now, since I'm the one that spoke to Catherine. First of all, she already has an idea of somebody who needs it. Second of all, I don't love the idea of this being just Catherine's decision. So I think a general lottery, even if we got 4, even if we just got 2 entries, or we get 100 entries, I don't know how I feel about it. We're just giving the decision, like, here, Catherine, here's some money to give somebody. I feel like that's just
Well, if she could help us, it would be great.
She already has some people in mind. Yes. So that is absolutely.
So
she
what's wrong with
mentioned-
targeting them for the money?
I would agree with Jen that this, our initial idea was this was from the PAC. This is the PAC supporting the Sebastopol artists.
That's correct.
And,
Nothing's changed.
and Catherine said she would assist that. So what, it seems like what you're describing is a different project.
No, it's
Can
the
I-
same project. It's the same project. The communication is different. Instead of a letter, I suggest you ask her to select those people and you just contact those people.
A letter doesn't,
Not
And
the
I-
whole.
I
not
want to
the whole-
ask that we bring this up in the next meeting because none of this is going to happen at this time. We have a lot of other things to go over and we have a little more than 15 minutes.
Let's go.
let's go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll move on. We have the sculpture garden committee soon. And if I can just ask that we don't make this, a 15-minute discussion because there's 2 more items after that.
So the other items are the app and what else?
The Black
It
Lives
says-
Matter mural project.
Okay.
And a report from the city.
So who's got the sculpture garden subcommittee report?
I do.
Go ahead, Margie.
Okay, so the updated proposal, call for proposals was sent to you. Hopefully you all got it.
No.
What Alan said, he just sent it again.
Well, don't put it on my screen. I don't want to read it here.
Okay, so any other comments on that, or I'd like to get this also.
If I may, Chair Verts and committee members, given Jen's note on the time and the fact that Warren has not seen this, and I know he's a member of the subcommittee, I don't know if there's a time crunch on this particular item. If the committee was interested in just continuing this item to the next meeting, I don't know if that would help with facilitation.
I would, if we do that, I would request that people please send in comments before the meeting, if that's possible, so that we don't take as long, so we can look at those comments and I can maybe incorporate them beforehand. And it's not urgent, but I do want to keep moving on this rather than just draw it out too much.
I agree. I think everybody wants to keep moving forward on this. So if that's okay, is everybody okay with moving on?
Can we have comments sent in?
Yeah,
and shared?
Absolutely.
Would people please do that before the next meeting?
yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay, so if we move on to the mobile art app, I don't really have much on this because I think in the last couple of weeks, I've been on a few city council calls and I feel the pain that the folks from Florence are going through. I see it kind of silly that we have a mobile art app that doesn't include Florence, which is the hottest art street in town, in my measly opinion. So it's just kind of, it's there, it exists. We've put some stuff on there. I put mine. I'm not actually sure if Lars, you got a chance to put some of your photos, upload them on the app, but you can send them over to me. So it exists. I don't know if we want to work on really promoting it very much. I know that the people on Florence do not want more cars driving down their street right now. So.
Okay, no, I think I need to still upload mine and I will, or I'll send them to you, Jen, but I think otherwise we could maybe revisit it in a few months or something and just sort of discuss if there's anything else we want to do with it or add to it or something like that.
Great. You and I just finalize all the last pieces of art in town.
Yeah,
If we think it's worth promoting, it just seems, it's funny because, not having Florence on there, have an art app without Florence it's funny, but
Yeah.
I'm very clear, I think, on where Florence stands on this. They don't want any promotion on their street, so.
Jen, you
we
must
would-
have been there for the discussion of the parking on Florence, were you?
Yes, the whole thing. So, yeah, they need their
Thanks.
privacy more. So, okay, if that's enough on the mobile art app, unless anybody has any comments, we can move forward. Okay,
Okay.
so then I guess the Black Lives Matter project is the last thing left. And I will say that before the community day of painting, I did write a letter to Carrie, which I didn't hear back from. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to talk to the committee about what was happening and give you guys the schedule, or if she should, which I believe it shouldn't have been me, but I did send the schedule. But I'm under the opinion that you guys didn't get I ran into Lars in the street. He didn't get the letter. So is that right, Carrie? Nobody on the PAC knew about.
I
the
believe
community
that's
day.
true. Unfortunately, it was in the city newsletter, but and my apologies. That did not go out to this committee unless
I
you're on the
am
city
sorry to
newsletter.
hear that, because yeah, the city council came out, mayor came out. The kids were really hardworking and worked through the sun, and it was blasting hot, and I think it looks great. They kept it really professional, kept the bricks completely clean. First day they painted the letters, and then the next day we added the community. Somehow a lot of people found out. I'm just super sad that the entire Public Arts Committee didn't know about it. So there the line went from the plaza down to McKinley, up to Main Street. It was wrapped around the corner for I want to say like 3 hours of people waiting in line to put their handprint on the street, on the concrete. It was absolutely beautiful. One lady had somewhat of an issue with it, wanted to talk to somebody, and I was like, well, here's city council right there. So they had a lively discussion about what Black Lives Matter meant, and it was not even lively, it was just a calm discussion. So that was the only thing that on the community day that I saw. It was a lot of love. People were really thankful, and it did get vandalized a couple days ago. I'm going to go down there I do have some of the paint left over, and we're going to go down there and touch up a little bit of the spray paint. Somebody wrote all over the word black. But other than that, I think it was a really positive experience for the kids. They did get on city council last night, and during public comments thanked council, and it was really great. And I'm sorry you guys missed it, but you guys are always more welcome if anybody would like to. I have some of the paint left. If anybody wants to put a handprint down there, I would meet you guys, and you can still put one in. So I'd like to just offer that.
Nice.
I would like to do that. I found out about the project in the Press Democrat on Saturday or Sunday. So I appreciate your additional comments and detail, Jen, about the event itself and the crowd. Yeah, please count me in if we can work out a time to rendezvous.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe we should all meet down there,
Yeah, not a bad idea.
do it together.
We do, that would have to be a special meeting if we all.
No, as long as
Okay.
you're not discussing business. So just to clarify for the Brown Act, if you have an announcement about an event, that is something you can send to the whole, like if you know about an art event, that is something you can send to the whole group, as long as you're not doing PAC business.
Well, technically, we voted on it and passed.
Right,
so I
right,
was
and that,
confused if
yeah.
I was allowed to talk about it because it was something that we had. voted.
Right, and yes, in that case, once the decision has already been made, if there's an event or a ribbon cutting, or and I'll just say this now because I am getting so many emails every day, and I apologize, I missed sending that on. But if there are any events that you'd like to share during this time, that is something that you can communicate with the whole pack to get that
Thank you.
information out there. Yeah,
So
So-
not just this time, but any time.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If there's, hey, there's an art opening happening here, that is something that you should certainly feel welcome to share.
And we can do that by emailing the group, not going through you.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
If it is about something that is pending business that this body will be voting on, and the decision has not been made, then it's best to send it to staff to make sure that we're dealing with those communications appropriately and not violating the Sunshine Act, which is really
Got
about
it, yeah.
not having deliberations that aren't part of a public meeting.
I have a question, Jen. Do you know if there's any provision to deal with future vandalizing?
Unfortunately, I don't think that's a responsibility that the city wants to take on. And all of the kids involved in the project are in high school or entering high school. A couple of them are just 14 going into their freshman year at Annalee. So this week they're getting ready to go back to school. So they're pretty busy. They're, Zooming school right now. So I know that they're just busy. They've got life stuff going on. A couple of them got summer jobs. They're dealing with school and work. So I still think that is up to us at this point. When it got vandalized, we did kind of rush out there just to make it a little bit covered, but the kids were all busy. And so then I did receive a letter from Carrie saying that Mary sent it to me saying that they did want it to be taken care of a little bit more. So at this point, since I'm actually the one holding some of the paint, we have a thread going with the group of kids, young women who I just said, does anybody want to meet me down there and help me fix it? So I think that's about what happens. We're all gonna keep our fingers crossed that nothing dramatic happens to it. Little stuff like this, I can fix up pretty easy, but that's the plan as of right now, unless Public Works want to come up and say, oh, we'll fix it every time. Like in New York City, it's the city that's fixing the vandalism, not the artist. But at this point, it's up to us, I think.
Yeah, so maybe we can at some point have a long range plan on that. And if there's a mural, same thing.
Yep. Okay, if that's okay, I would love to, I'll send out an email maybe and just say, if you guys all come down there, we had rubber gloves and paper plates, and maybe we can pick a time in the next couple of days or a week or so. And anybody wants to come out can stick their handprint in.
It'd be nice to
Okay.
do. Yeah.
I would love it. I would love it. You guys deserve to have them in there. So anyway, okay, if we can move on, unless anybody has any questions about the Black Lives
So I
Matter.
and I will note that for this item, the city has received a few public comments feeling that it should be an all lives matter and that it wasn't necessarily inappropriate. And I feel it's these are public comments, so my responsibility to let you know about these. They've been passed on to City Council as the decision-making body of that, but I will also share that with you. Obviously, art can be controversial, so I'm sure U.S. artists are not unaware of that. But then I think at the City Council meeting last night, there were also people who were supportive of and expressing their support for the mural as well.
Yeah, last night actually I don't think there was any negative comment. There was only support on public comments last night, which was good, almost surprising, since there was some negative comments in the former meeting. So maybe we're heading in a good direction.
Discussing.
I will say that the Desi and Adana were very well spoken at City Council last night when they spoke about it as well.
They're incredibly professional, just really wonderful young women, and I'm just so proud to have gotten to know them and work with them. They're like that all day, not just on City Council meetings. They're just fantastic people.
Is there any discussion? You're supposed to have a discussion on the mural or some other time, or what's the situation?
They would like to do a mural. However, they did talk about that briefly at the meeting last night. I know that with school, they have a lot of stuff coming up right now, and they also haven't officially acquired a wall. Once they get the wall, then it's game on. So I think the first step, my suggestion to them was the first step to do a mural would be find where you're going to paint it. Then you can start asking, you know, maybe we would want to support it monetarily again. City Council, we could go through that similar process. They're looking for a muralist to help them, a teacher. They wanted a person of color, particularly Black or Indigenous, possibly to help them, a teacher help them with that. I'm a muralist, but I don't know how much, I mean, I should, yeah, I can't do all of them. They probably don't want that. But so, yeah, I think they need to find a wall first. And that was my suggestion to them. And if you guys have any suggestions of walls that might work, send them. They would love that too. So if it's okay, can we move on to the planning department report?
Yes.
Yes.
Gary?
Okay, so I'm gonna do, let's see. I think the big things that have gone on, we've heard about here. The other component of it that I'll report on is, and I'm gonna do one more screen share just to, and I can do a more formal report on this next meeting, but I have had the budget subcommittee, or we're about to have a budget subcommittee meeting on the special funds, which includes the Art in Lieu Fund. And so I did want to share, and I think I had been requested at the last meeting to give a budget update on the Art in Lieu Fund. And so this is a quick glance at it. The top line is what we generally anticipate on an annual basis, revenues coming in. And then the operating expenses below are for the proposed budgets for the year. And so the actual money spent last fiscal year, it ended up being $7,000, and that was for some of the design work for Michael McGinnis's the library art, the design and engineering is underway for that. And then the rest of that is carried over to the new budget. I am proposing, based on the information and the ideas from this committee, and I will scroll down and then enlarge the sort of notes that I have on what's being carried over from the last fiscal years, and then also the proposed budget items. So the proposed budget items includes the $1,000 for the Black Lives Matter. The potential, and this doesn't necessarily approve it, but this committee had discussed about potentially adding some funding to NEDCON as that sculpture is being reworked. And so I've put that in the budget. And it, as we had discussed, that would require whatever the proposal is to see where that is, but provide some flexibility. If the PAC recommends that to council and council approves it, then it's in the budget. And then also the $5,000 for potential new projects. And so that would include the COVID-19 relief that was just discussed, as well as if we do look at the next commission going being constructed next year, but do a call this year, then that would fund be enough to fund the honorariums for finalists, which is typically $1,000 or so for those. And then the other items in the budget are we call them carryover items, but the committed items for the two commissions that are already under contract. And so that's the NEDCON piece, understanding that may be, that's likely going to be revised, and then the library art piece. And so just in terms of the budget, so that if all of that were to happen this year, that would be $97,000. The beginning balance at the beginning of this year is $142,000. So that would still be $55,000 remaining in the budget, which is since if you look at the cost of our last two commissions, that is certainly enough to look at potentially doing another call for art in the next year or so. And I'm going to leave my update at that. There's obviously a lot of other stuff going on in the city. But I don't know if there's anything specific other than the Black Lives Matter, which Jen reported on in the budget discusussions that directly relate to this group.
So
Carrie,
thank
can I,
you for that budget.
can
Hello,
Oh.
talking over somebody.
I was trying to talk, but
I'll be quick, Warren. I want to say thanks, Carrie, for sharing that. Is it possible to either send that via email or send a link to us so those of us who are interested can look at that a little more closely? There's a lot going on in that document.
Sure, but I would request to do that after my budget subcommittee meeting, if that's okay, which is, so if they have any revisions to it. I believe that's next Tuesday
Yeah, that's
or
fine.
so.
Thank you.
Carrie, since you mentioned Ned Kahn, may I say a word about him?
Sure. Or I'm actually going to defer to the chair because it's actually the chair's pleasure as to whether or not.
Go ahead, Warren, just so you know it's 12:03.
Well,
so.
just briefly, so you know, because you're talking about saving money for him, I am totally uncertain at this point if we'll have a sculpture from Ned. I have been after him and have had 3 meetings scheduled and canceled for various reasons. One was some surgery he had. The last was a medical emergency on his wife. So I will stay after him, but I've talked to him about sites and he's not enthusiastic. So I'm just leaving it at that. I will keep after him. And I also
I did speak to Ned, if you want to. He's actually working on putting a bunch of sculptures in an air garden in the Hotel Sebastopol lot, and I know he's actively working on that.
He is working on that at the behest of the owners of the property. That's nothing to do with our project.
I know, I just think that's what he's busy on right now.
Well, he's also trying to redesign for us, but we have a limitation on areas that he can put it on. We don't have a lot of open city land that accommodates something. And we, as a committee, wanted gateway sculptures, which limits even further. So I'm just saying I'm working with him, but it's been almost impossible to get together. So
Warren,
secondly,
can I just ask you a question about that, Warren? That when you talk about redesign, the current location in his mind just can't be used because the redesign would just never meet the budget?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, no, he is out of, he's priced out totally of the pieces he was going to put on the pedestals that exist.
Right.
It's way beyond what we have. He's in hundreds of thousands of dollars for just fabrication. I would like to go back and have him do what he first offered and the city approved of and the council, our committee approved of, and do it on the scale that we can afford. And that's what I'm going to try to work with him to do. But getting together has been impossible. And I will try and try and try. And secondly, I just wonder where McGinnis is.
So he is working on the design and is actually technically, I think the process is he has some drawings from his engineer, but they're working on some revisions to that. So the design is almost done for that, and then I'll move on to fabrication. He did let me know that there will be some, just in terms of schedules, there will be some delays because he can't quite do the fabrication the way he was intending to with social distancing and whatnot to be safe. So, but he is moving forward with that project. And we just approved his first invoice at the end of last fiscal year. And then actually, lastly, if I can add one more department note, the upcoming city newsletter, I believe, should have the support for artists letter from this committee in that as an open letter with and I think that also notes that this committee is working on potential ways we can support local artists, as you discussed today. And I don't know, do you all get the city electronic e-newsletter that comes out on late Fridays, early Saturdays?
I do not.
I do.
I don't know if I do. I don't think so.
I think I do.
Okay, we can send out the link, or I can actually have our outreach person add you all to that list if you're interested in that. That includes some of the just general updates, but it'll include the updates that I give them from this committee too for the newsletter. That way you can kind of see
I
what,
would love to be added to that.
okay, we'll do that.
Can we just discuss or what's going to be on the agenda for next meeting? I have a comment on that.
I think you could probably email in and add a few items, or not. You have plenty of time before the next meeting, but this meeting, it's 12:08 now. So I
Okay, let me just
probably
say
need to
that
wrap.
I'd like us to consider that we have enough time. We don't put too many things on it so that we have time to finish the artist support and go over the sculpture garden perhaps and discuss the NED project site.
Okay, and I can
Good,
work
thank
with
you.
Jen as the chair to discuss agenda management to make sure we're
Thank you.
balancing out.
Thank you. All right, if that's it, then does anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second?
I second that and thank all these fine volunteers.
Carrie, do you want to call the vote?
I think you can just
All
show
in
of hands.
favor?
Or everyone.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Say nay.
There you go. Motion carries.
Okay, guys, thank you. Thanks for
Thank
everything,
you.
guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody, next time.
See ya.
All right.